Hello. Today is Thursday, January 26th, 2023. Several hours ago, I met a Korean American who lives in Washington, D.C. She's about 65 years old, and I consulted with her about the possibility for me to work in the USA in 3 years' time, because in 3 years' time I have a choice to continue to work for KT for the next 3 more years, or just retire earlier at the point of time with some hefty amount of bonus. And then if I choose the latter option, I would probably like to go to the States and work there as a retiree, and make several $1,000s per month to subsidize my stay there. Their salary doesn't have to be very high necessarily, because I retire, and there would be some amount of money to tie me over until the Christ calls me over to that side of the world. So she said, she would look for. She said she would look for some job opportunity for me. She would put her neck out for me. So I am just I grateful for her agreeing to look for a job for me. I'm not sure if she will be able to, but it was a quite comfortable, comforting agreement from her. So my first daughter will graduate from her high school in maybe 15 days, and she refused to go to a college. She didn't even take the college entrance exam in Korea. It's more like a SAT, but instead she wants to go to Australia to work there as a working holiday visa holder. And I think that that's not a correct way to spend her time after graduation, because in Australia it's a vast country and there are a lot of different farms. And I heard several newses from Korean workers there that they got stuck at a farm with several Korean guys, and they didn't even get to visit Sydney, Melbourne, or Canberra, or Brisbane, or Newcastle, because they were far away from those metropolis policies, and also they have a very minimal amount of interactions with English speaking Australians, Kiwi guys, or Aussie guys. And also, when you are female, you also get an opportunity to work at a bar or cafe. Cafe is good, but bar, as we saw many times in the movies, that's not a good job. The guys, they always try to poke a girl in the back or in the side to see if she's easygoing or so on. So in general, when you are lonely in the in a foreign country, you would be quite tempted to mingle with some bad guys, or guys who are not optimal for you in the future. So as a dad, I would like to get more educated for my judgment later on, as regard my daughter's future because I might have to subsidize her travel. So I would get to say some what Dad has to say. So here, that's why I just pull up this article from the internet. I've never read this article, but I am trying to read it to get more information. It's more like what you call informed judgment preparation. I would like to get prepared so that I could have more balanced and informed judgment on the opportunity, seemingly good opportunity to work overseas. I myself am interested in this opportunity, so I am quite keen on what this article has to say about those opportunities. And also, I would like to read this article to practice English. Yes, I cannot speak English on a daily basis, so I must rely on the texts and audio clips and on the internet for my English practice. And I generally try to read a long article for 20 to 30 minutes worth. So that's why I chose this one. So it's a dual-purposed effort to read this article. So here I am. Check out our brand new expat podcast on Spotify. Click here and not now. Londoner in Sydney, travel guide and expat tips. Home blog. Jack tells us what's it like on a working holiday visa in Australia. And blog. Jack tells us what's it like on a working holiday visa in Australia. Check out our new expat podcast. Meet Jack. He's a 25-year-old London guy through and through. What is it? Through and through. A guy that loves partying, and he's been in Sydney since March 2015 on a working holiday visa. That's a strange expression, though. Maybe it's more limited to British English. He's a 25-year-old London guy through and through. What is through and through? I'll look it up later. I get a fair few emails from people thinking of taking the plunge and coming over to Australia on a WHV, working holiday visa. So I sat down with Jack to find out how he's found the last 10 months in this country. Jack left England back in December 2014 with friends and spent 3 months traveling the Southeast Asia circuit. That's good expression too. Traveling, that's a double L, the Southeast Asia circuit. The Southeast Asia circuit. He was supposed to go back home in March, but instead followed his friends onto Australia on a WHEV. They were told by other friends to head to Melbourne, and after 8 weeks there, he decided it was too similar to London. That is, it was busy, people were in a rush, and it felt too much like home. He then made a beeline to Sydney for its famous beaches and to learn to surf. The main reason Jack left London was because he hated his commute to work. Spending 3 hours a day on London tubes started to grind him down. London tubes, that's another good term, started to grind him down, and he realized a change was needed. London tubes, okay, because there are more than 2 lines there. I think maybe 6, 7, 8. I visited London twice. grind him down, spending 3 hours a day on London tubes started to grind him down. Funnily enough, I felt the same and too needed a change from that life. Even though Jack came over to Australia with friends, he spent his first 2 months at the exact same hostel I first stayed at when I did my WHV back in 2006, called Wake Up. I would recommend this hostel until the cows come in, because like Jack, it was so much fun and very sociable. That's another good cliche, idiom. Cliche, I think, idiom, I don't know. The cows come in, until the cows come in. When the cows are out in the pasture, in the wilderness, and they are lost, you feel agitated, you feel sad because you would subsequently lose the hefty asset of your meager life, so that you are quite worried and you look high and low for your cows. But when cows come in to your home or come into their shed, you would be quite happy and everything will be back to normal, or maybe better. They would bring more heifers and so on, so your asset would grow. So when the cows come in means when the situation turns better. Until the cows come in, until the fat lady sings, until the cows come in. After 2 months of partying, Jack got his first job for an entertainment company and moved into a flat by the beach in Cogi, a British backpacker's dream. Moved into a flat. Good points about Sydney. So, after 10 months away, I asked Jack what he loved about Sydney, and his main focus is the beach, which has lived up to how he hoped it would. Being able to spend your weekends at beach parties, boat parties, and lots of events around the beach is something Jack would have never experienced back in London. Obviously, his favorite beach is Cogi for its laid-back feel, yet he loves the waves at Maroubra Beach. It's laid back feel. Laid back. You are laid back. It's laid back feel. Yet he loves the waves at Marlborough Beach for its laid back feel. Iskagi for its laid back feel. I think apostrophe should be gone. It's laid back feel. Cogi Beach on a fine November day. That looks quite nice. Bad points about Sydney. Jack has realized Sydney is small. Well, definitely a lot smaller than London. It's easy to stay in the suburb you live in, and Jack has it all in Cogi. But I find you need to get out and explore what Sydney has to offer, as there's a lot more out there than just the beach. Maybe Coogee, I don't know. Coogee Beach. Another point Jack made was about how Sydney nightlife isn't great. For a 25-year-old British male, going out partying is a big deal, and unfortunately, because of the strict lockout laws, don't expect to get into a bar or club after 1 a.m. And the uber strict bouncers. Sydney isn't as laid back about drinking as you'd probably imagine. Lockout laws, lockdown, lock in, lock up, lockout. The strict lockout laws, the strict lockout laws, the strict lockout laws. C is a lockout. The strict lockout laws. I think they got a hyphen maybe, but it's okay. Strict lockout laws. A good point Jack made was not to expect to go on a pub crawl in Sydney. Pub crawl, bar hopping, right? Bar hopping. A pub crawl, a pub crawl, a pub crawl, a pub crawl, a pub crawl. Go on a pub crawl, 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 go on a pub crawl. It's better to spend the night in one place because the bouncers will otherwise interrogate you like there's no tomorrow. Was not to expect to go on a pub crawl. Back when I used to go out drinking, I remember going to a pub with some friends and we were asked so many questions by the bouncers going into our second pub. We were asked questions like how many people were in the previous pub, how many drinks had we had so far, where was the last pub we went to, and so on. It certainly puts a downer on the night. 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 Go on a web crawl. Another thing Jack has realized is he misses the culture in London, being able to go to a gig at any time, and of course he misses the buzz London has. Buzz, buzzy, buzzing word, buzzword, buzz. He misses the buzz London has. He misses the buzz London has. London at night. Making friends in Sydney. Jack has a lot of British friends in Sydney, and most of them are friends of friends that have moved out to Sydney. He did, however, make some great friends whilst staying at Wake Up Hostel. When he first arrived, who he still hangs out with, when it comes to having Australian friends, Jack can only say they are only people he works with. Spending most of his time in Coogee, surrounded by other backpackers, he's not really been around Australians to immerse himself into the culture. It's interesting because the majority of British people I know in Sydney only have British friends. Jack, with some of his friends, playing Australian tradition of lawn bowls. I wonder what the lawn bowls is. Has Jack changed in the last 10 months? Jack went back to visit friends and family in UK for 2 weeks over Christmas recently. I asked him if he felt different going back, and after spending his life living with his mom, he said he realized how much he is now grown up. Now, living independently in Sydney, Jack has learned how to handle his money, clean up after himself, and do his own washing. Clean up after himself. Clean up after yourself. Clean up after you soil your pants, mother. Clean up after himself. Clean up after himself. His mom was certainly shocked to learn this. Mom, getting a job. When Jack was living in Melbourne, he got a fair few jobs, mainly from Gumtree, working as a gardener, a tradie, and also in a call center. A tradie, I wonder what a tradie is. Through and through, a tradie. He reckons it's easy to get work as long as you are open-minded about what you are doing. The minimum pay is $16.87 compared to $7.25 the US pays. Jack now has his career back working in digital and has been lucky enough to get sponsored, meaning he can stay in Australia. You seem to be having a good time with a beautiful lady there. If you are thinking about coming over to Australia on a WHV but unsure if it's for you, why not look at my London versus Sydney post or my working in London versus working in Sydney post? It might help you out. Let me know in the comments below if you are thinking of coming to Australia on a working holiday visa or have already done it. Annie. I am Annie, the co-founder of Londoner in Sydney. I've been living in Sydney since 2011 and am bringing you everything you need to know about moving to Australia, moving back to England, as well as some fab trips from our travels around the world. Fab trips, fab tips, some fab tips, fab tips, some fab tips, some fab tips, some fab tips, fab tips, fab tips. Okay, so let's look up the several words that I missed. First is fab. I think fabulous. Fab, adjective, fabulous. See?
Fab.
Fab, fabulous, terrific, great. Slang.
Fab.
Fab,
Fab.
fab, fab,
Fab.
fab,
Fab.
fab,
Fab.
fab. Fabulous, vibrant, AP. I don't know what the vibrant APs are. Vibrant. The fab was for fabulous, and I've never seen this one before. Tradie, trader maybe, tradie. A tradesman, tradeswoman, or tradesperson is a skilled worker that specializes in a particular trade, occupation, or field of work. Tradesmen usually have work experience, on-the-job training, and often formal vocational education, in contrast to apprentice who is learning the trade. As opposed to a craftsman or an artisan, the occupation of tradesman is not necessarily restricted to manual work. Tradesman, tradee. Yes?
Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie. Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie. Tradie.
Tradie.
Tradie. Tradie.
Tradie. Tradie. Let me. See? And through and through. I think real. Through and through. Completely, thoroughly, absolutely, because of the repetition of the word through. Through and through describes a situation where an object, real or imaginary, passes completely through another object, also real or imaginary. The phrase has several common uses: through and through, completely. Web dictionary, through and through. I don't need it. So we learned that Jack has been enjoying life in Sydney, although it's a hectic, smaller than London. I would like to remind you that I'm Korean. My daughter is Korean too, but this author is a Londoner living in Sydney, and Jack is also from London. So their perspectives are different from ours because probably they would have an easier time in getting a job. In Korea, as a Korean, probably it's very difficult to have a sponsorship on the job from an Australian employer. Londoners, the Sydney was the common colony, so probably they have more favored status than Koreans. So this article is mainly for Londoners who are thinking of moving out to Australia. Before I say sayonara, goodbye, I would like to go over the expressions that I learned from this article. Of course, all those expressions I already knew, like until the cows come in, through and through, tradie, never heard of it before. Through and through, probably one or twice. And what else? Tradie, a fab. That's a fabulous fab. And what else? What was the cliche? Has to offer, what London has to offer. Move out. Let's go over. See if I can remember. WHV. I was supposed to go back home, told by a friend's beeline. Made a beeline. This means went straight. Made a beeline. Made a beeline. Made beeline. Yep. London Tubes. Go on a 3 hours spending on the London Tubes. Go on a pub crawl. 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 Bar hopping, man. Funny enough. In America, they say funny enough, but in Australia and the UK they say funnily enough. Funnily, wake up, hostel. Kaji, Kuji. Let's find out what the correct pronunciation of this seemingly beautiful beach. Until the Australian government invites me over there, I cannot be certain how beautiful it is and how it is pronounced. If you are Australian government official, please make sure you have a meeting and invite me over there one more time. I was there as a tourist. Now, this time I would like to be officially invited by your government, so that I could Kuji, also known as the G, the best. How'd you pronounce it, man? How'd you pronounce it? I think of Kuji now. Kuji. Okay, I'll forget about it. One more time. Wikipedia. Coogee, South Wales. How do you pronounce it? Come on, man. I'd like to know the pronunciation. Well, that's it, I think. Right? Good points. Made a beeline. Kuji. For its laid back feel. I think apostrophe should be omitted there. For its laid back feel. Yep. Laid back feel. Laid back feel. It's laid back feel. It's laid back feel. It's laid back feel. Laid back. Get out. Explore. Move out there. Big deal. Big deal. Big deal. Lockout laws. The strict lockout laws. The strict lockout laws. The strict lockout laws. Lockdown. Lock in. Lock up. Lock out laws. Lockout laws. Strict bouncers. Bouncers. Go on a pub crawl. It certainly puts a downer on the pub crawl on the night. It certainly puts a downer 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 on the night. Buzz. Hang out with. Make a beeline. Immerse himself into the culture. Immerse himself into the culture. Immerse himself into the culture. Realized, grown up, shocked to learn this. Clean after himself. Clean up after himself. Clean up after himself. Clean up after himself. Gumtree. Clean up after himself. Sponsored. Get sponsored. Get sponsored. Open-minded about what you are doing. Open-minded. Any? Okay, so that's it. I have to say goodbye now.